ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך המשיח הכל מדברים. Shuvah Hashem and Shem B'Sei Kafikim B'Neged. Shuvah Hashem and Shem B'Sei Kafikim B'Neged. Shuvah Hashem and Shem B'Sei Kafikim B'Neged. Ay Hazoilim Medina, Medina, Yitzoyro, Yazoylim, Medina, Medina, Yitzoyro, Ay, oh, ay, oh, ya, mama, You know, the last thing in the world I feel like doing is singing this morning, right? A chassid sings not when he feels like it. He sings because he knows his neshama is dependent on it. So it's avoida. It's not, we're in the zone, we're feeling great. It's 21 new Shiva homes, 24 new Shiva homes this week. And yet, I know my neshama depends on feeling alive right now. So that's why I'm pushing everyone. I know it's hard. I know it feels impossible. But we're still here and we're still showing up and we're still determined to stay focused, Be'ezer Hashem. Okay? We're here to stay focused. I'm not here to say, well, we have a shir, we have to come to shir. We're here to stay focused. So Hashem, please look at your children. We're trying our hardest to stay focused. Have Rahmanis on us, and that our heart should be open and our mind should be somewhat also open to receive your words and your direction in a clear manner, B'ezrat Hashem. All right, so just continuing the month of Shvat, we're learning Leilui Nishmas Shimon ben Moshe, Tzvi ben Mordechai, Shir Rachma Bas Rav Alter Nasim Nata, and for the zivug of Daniel Chana Bas Sarah Libby. And the week is sponsored by Shlomit Koffler, wine rib and memory of her brother David Koffler. And also, I just went, Ellie, come here, get over here. What's wrong with you? Am I kidding me? Tzadik Bala, you're going to be hiding over here? Come here. Give me a hug. What's wrong with you? Welcome. Okay. But also, I have very special, it's not guests, I have family that's visiting today. And I'm so honored that they're here. And this is mamash, my family, since I'm a kid. So I want to just welcome, I'm not going to tell anyone that you're here, but people are here. Olivia's in the back, and Shmuel Usher is here. And it was, how many years, what was the yahrzeit? What year? Seventh yahrzeit of one of my greatest mashpim in my life, Rav Shlomo ben Moshe. His, the learning should be Leilui Nishmasa, HaTahara, Smecha. You've heard me speak about him many, many times. So this is supposed to learn together, and Dafka to learn Rav Ginsburg's Torah together. That's even a double a triple simcha. Take pages, chaverim, whoever needs, and let's have Siyat Dishmaya and keep on going strong. For those b'chaver that have the sefer and that have the pages, please open up the page Lamed Daled. Lamed Daled. That's exactly where we were. Huh? It's insane. It's ridiculous how shayach this is. So, okay, Chaver, let's go inside. A lot of people like to say they're into the Baal Shem Tov. They're into Hasidus. But sometimes we stop ourselves and ask, well, what does that even mean? What does that mean? I wear a gartel? What does that mean? I learn Tanya? What is that? Well, sometimes we have these moments where we stop and we say they have to be bold enough to crowd and say, but Lemaisa, what does that actually even mean? To say I'm into the Baal Shem, like the Baal Shem Tov has any type of real hashpah in my life. This is a question we addressed many times while we're on the trips to Ukraine, specifically sitting in Medjugorje and Baal Shem Tov's shul and asking this question. And every time we used to go there, we used to find different nekudas. One time we did one piece that was very much choser. That's more very strong piece that we said so many times in the name of Rav Kluger, how the Baal Shem Tov added a word into our lexicon. Remember the word that he added into? Adayin lo. Adayin. Right, adayin lo, meaning a person has a choice to look at life and say, I don't have any yishuv hadas, but the Baal Shem Tov comes and says, just add one word. I don't yet have any yishuv hadas. A couple can look at their marriage and say, I don't have any shalom bayis. Or they could say, I don't yet have shalom bayis. A person can look at themselves and say, I don't have any clarity of what God wants of me. Or I could say, I don't yet have any clarity about what God wants of me. And that tiny little, that little word, that little inyan is mamish davar veipucho. It's a complete flip of a man's whole perspective of how I experience life in this world. Right? It's a complete flip. How the whole thing flips over. So to be able to say those words in there, it's like a very, very, very chazak inyan. Here, what Rav Ginsburg is going to tell us today is something like another one of these inyanim of realizing what does it mean to hold on to the light of the Baal Shem Tov? What did he prepare for you and I as the tzaddik that knew that as the moments before Mashiach are coming, Yeush would seem like the norm. Despair would probably feel like the norm. What does the Baal Shem Tov tell us about this? And how does it fit in with what we're speaking about here, but trying to rectifying and doing a tikkun for this Medina, for this country? And oh boy, does the country need a fixing. Does the country need a tikkun, and how much we need a tikkun as well. So if you look at the Baal...
2 pages, this wasn't...
I'm sorry?
This wasn't the pages. Do you have other ones?
That's not there's no Lamed Daled on that page?
No.
I'm sorry, are there any other pages that have Lamed Daled on it?
No Lamed Daled.
There's no Lamed Daled.
Okay.
Oh, Yifei, I'm sorry.
I have it.
Oh, here. I have. Sorry. These do. Anyone else need? I have over here. Ellie, you have? Okay. Okay, so listen, whoever else needs, Dov has it up here, okay? Look at this. This is life, in my humble opinion, this is life-saving. At least for me. Because I actually went home last night, a long day here, went home, a bunch of homework with the kids, which usually is very not thrilling. And last night it was like a lifesaver that I could, plug my mind in, my brain, put my brain into something that just takes me to another place with like the stuff that I till today, I feel like I'm starting to get a rash when I look at algebra, right? My daughter's in 7th grade, my second daughter. Ora's in algebra, and I'm like, and last night it was like, wow, I'm a prachim, like flowers, All the numbers and the equations and X's and Y's was like flowers, just because it was a distraction. And then mamish, it was like 9:30, mash kazeh. I told Bina, I said, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm just going to sleep. I'm just going to sleep. Kinafalti. One of the boys from here is the son of Vali. I don't know if you know Vali Westfall. But Vali's been my sound man here in Efrat for any of the big events here. Voli's the guy that does all the big events here. His son was one of them. His father went into the army. 3 brothers went into the army. And how many levayas have? I feel like all of us are like Rabbi Akiva, going to like 63 levayas a day during Sfiras Omer, like non-stop. It's just like, so Hashem is baruch, like, okay, please, just like mamish, just we're begging you, like yalla. So the Ginsburg says like this. Last thing we spoke about in this year was the transformation, actually taking darkness and transforming the darkness itself to light. That was the last year, which I felt was so important, because what we did was, we took the first, I don't know how many psukim, what was it? 4 or 5 psukim. The first 4 or 5 psukim of the Torah, and we completely, just looked at it completely new.
This is not this one.
That one? We looked at it completely new light. Rav Ginsburg just basically said to us, listen, notice a few words here, and notice the order of the words, and now you get a little bit of a directive of what you're supposed to be doing in this world. And this bichlal, a much bigger topic we'll be discussing at another time, Havdalah, Hachna, Hamtaka, which we spoke about before. But to be able to mavdil, to be able to separate light and darkness, call out what things are, is one shlav, but then transforming the darkness into light, I know it's a beautiful thing we speak about, it's like all nice, terms and terminology, but be'emes, it's like something, achi l'maisa she'efshar. So he says we find this order of transforming, actually taking darkness and transforming it into light by the prophet Micha. בנבואת מיכה אנו מוצאים אזכור מפורש להפיכת החושך לאור. אל תשמחי אהבתי לי. Don't get too happy. Don't get too happy, all your enemies. All my enemies. Don't start doing fabrengens. You sick monsters. Don't start getting so happy. אל תשמחי אהבתי לי. כי נפלתי? Yeah. Simchas Torah. 1400 Yidden checked it. Yes. כי נפלתי? קמתי. I got up. כי ישב בחושך, and I sit in darkness. Hashem orli. God, you're a light to me. This pasuk alone, right? You don't even need a shear now. Honestly, this pasuk alone, that there was a prophet that spoke like this. We have to understand, if we feel like we're the Dor of Geula and we're living in times of prophecy, this pasuk alone from Micha really is enough to go and run into a forest and actually start crying. And actually start inhaling these words. Al tismichi ahavti li, ki nafalti kamti, ki yeshev b'choshech Hashem or li. Mimareinu Abal Shem Tov lamadnu shedivrei hanavim shayachim lechol adam v'tzibur b'chol dor v'chol makom. And the Baal Shem Tov says, when you learn a prophecy, it has everything to do with exactly where you are and exactly what's going on at any given time and space in your life. Always. It's not just the Alter Rebbe's Chiddush where he says a person has to live with the times. What are the times referring to? The Parsha. The Baal Shem Tov takes that, it says the same thing, but he's saying it's shayach all the time, no matter where you're at. And how much is this pasuk shayach to what we're going through today? לכן עלינו להשתדל תמיד להבין את דברי התורה בהקשר שבו אנו נמצאים וכמתייחסים לאירועים עכשוויים. And therefore one must always do whatever they can to try to understand Torah in the context, remember that beautiful word? In the context of where we're at, and as if they're happening to us right now. Now, this week is very easy to do this, right? Shir Asayam. Egyptians on our tail. We're drowning. And then we're looking for an achsham. It's very, very easy to do a parsha. Like if it was Parshas Tetzaveh, we'd have to work a little bit more with our minds. If it was Parshas Tzav or, Mitzorah, I don't know. You could always do this, obviously, but sometimes the Parshas are just basically saying, it's a video. This is right here, right in front of you.
Are getting buried, and we're coming out.
Every imagery, every piece of the imagery, everything about it. And just to be a segula, I told you once the Yalkut, the Ma'am Loez says it's a very important Torah for right now, unfortunately, hundreds of parents. It says that when the Jewish boys were being thrown into the water when they were born, that the Midrash says is that Malachim, angels, were learning with them, somehow they were learning with them for years, and they rejoined Am Yisrael as Am Yisrael was crossing the Yam. There was a ichud mishpachot. There was a unification of parents with children that they were taking from them at birth. The Yalkut says they joined them again as they crossed Yam Suf. So Bichlal Pashas B'Shalach, this is it. And what's interesting is we're still waiting for the Shira. It's I tell you, I'm paying very close attention to this. Many artists have put out so much music in the last period of time that's going nowhere. Nowhere. Because we're looking for a real Shir Chadash that has to come from Imke Anishama. The deepest depths that has to, it has to come from Mamish tasting the abyss of evil, the abyss of darkness. And from there, people are trying, everyone's trying. But there's nothing yet that is Mamish Tofes, and Kulam Ahuvim. And actually, a lot of this music is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. However, the call of the nation right now, it needs more than just, a gorgeous nigun. It needs a Mashiach. It needs a Mashiach nigun. Az Yoshem Moshe. It needs something else. באור זה, with this light, אפשר לשמוע בדברי הנבואה התייחסות לקום מדינת ישראל לאחר השואה. So he's saying very interesting. Based on the pasuk from Micha, we can understand how the prophecy is referring to the existence of Am Yisrael before the Shoah. שהייתה הנפילה והאסון הגדולים ביותר שעברו אי פעם על העם היהודי, the Holocaust. Imagine if we learned this 3.5 months ago, right? Imagine if we learned what he just said 3.5 months ago, that the Holocaust was the worst thing that's happened to Am Yisrael ever. Now, of course, that's still true, but to us, we don't need to go to Yad Vashem. You got to just go down to Be'eri, or like we went the other day to Kfar Aza. You don't need a Yad Vashem right now. And that's sick. כך נפרש את החלק הראשון של הנבואה, כי נפלתי, קמתי. And this is how we're going to understand the first part of the prophecy, כי נפלתי, קמתי. Now, I want to say something which will give a little bit of an explanation to Chabad's specific approach to Zionism. We always say that we always think Chabad are probably such big Zionists because, they're such Eretz Yisrael, everything's, But as an ideology, you have to understand that Rebbe Rashab, the Frierdiker Rebbe, were very, very, very anti-Zionists in the concept of what Zionism, unfortunately, was.
We're getting there.
Whizzing.
We're not there yet.
Whizzing. Right, whizzing. However, President Shazar, right? Zalman Shazar, right? I have a great book in my house. I think I showed it to you once, David Aaron. No? It's a huge book about the relationship that President Shazar had with the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe. And he was the president of Israel. And the book is called Nasi V'Chasid. But it's a play because Nasi, who's the Nasi? The Rebbe. Who's the Chassid?
The president.
Shazar.
The Nasi is
The Nasi is the Rebbe, and Shazar was, his last name was Shnei Zalman Shazar, right? I forgot the raid, what the race was. I forget the last name. Anyway, yeah. He was from Chabad family. He used to go to Kfar Chabad every year to Kislev for the Farbrengens. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was very much against. However, when the UN vote was about to take place, then something switched. Not that he became waving a Bnei Akiva flag, but we understood that something shifted in the world, and we must support the Jewish state. We must support it. Not support yet what it stands for, but support it as an entity for Am Yisrael, for Yidden. I just saw I could send it out. I just learned the whole thing about this. Now, that's the beginning. Ki nafalti, Auschwitz, Majdanek, Yidden being burnt to death, shechted, whatever we don't have to go into it right now. Ki nafalti, kamti, 1948. That's the beginning. This is Rav Ginsburg talking, not Rav Drukman, you understand? It's important to point this out. This is not Rabbi Riskin saying these words, it's Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg saying these words. Hachelek haba, but then this is where it gets, This is what Rav Drukman probably would have never said, but this is where it gets, this is our heart over here. Ha'chelik haba of the nevuah is ki eshev b'choshech. Now I'm going to sit and dwell in darkness. What does that mean? Because that comes after kamti. There's a kamti. I got up. 1948. But then the pasuk continues. Ki eshev b'choshech. רומז לכך שלמרות שקם שלטון יהודי בארץ ישראל כמתנת אלוקים, אנו ממשיכים לשבת בארצנו בחושך רוחני. That even though a Jewish state has been founded and it's been established, we're still, and it's a gift from Hashem, we're still sitting in such spiritual darkness. Ha'akara be'uvda zo, admitting this, recognizing this fact, which has been so hard. It's been so hard for people that grew up with the Zionism that's basically ki'ilu, that's Mashiach, right? And it's all good, it's all set and all done. But getting up and recognizing this and realizing that we're in our country, we're in our land, but there's a spiritual darkness that's hovering over the place, all over the place. Ha'ishtadlut la'asot kol asher bi'yicholteinu la'afoch et ha'choshech hazeh le'or. And the attempt, giving all the kochos to transform all this darkness into light, hen ha'etgar shel doreinu. That is the etgar. How do you say etgar?
Challenge.
That's the challenge of this generation. Meaning to say, the challenge of the generation is not dismissing the whole thing. That's what we said the first year. It'd be too easy. It'd be too easy, and it would make so much sense too. Yalla, mow the lawn. This was a nice attempt. Happened many times before that there was some kind of attempt to start something. Gamaynu. He says no. Ha'edgar shel doreinu, the challenge, that which our door that is willing to admit that we have to wake up. And now, obviously, we're in a much bigger situation of where there's more people, number-wise, kind of like what the Rav was speaking about last year, critical mass, buzz, that understand that you can't think that we were living in a spiritual, healthy environment for all these years, that are willing to understand and recognize sheyesh po choshech ruchani, there's spiritual darkness. And I know all your minds are going to people that, what? Tell me a city that you're all thinking about. Thank you. He's willing to admit it. But what did Eli say? Bnei Brak. And I'm going with him. It's both, but it's easier to say what of course it is. I'm going to say one other place also. I'm going to say another place.
The front.
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm willing to admit, because it doesn't say anything. You have to understand, willing to admit that there's choshech ruchani somewhere, that there's spiritual darkness somewhere, doesn't mean everyone's Rishayim. It doesn't mean everyone's a bad person. It just means that there's been a self-induced coma throughout the country for 75 years.
You can say that about every single city in
Efshar, but I have to start where I am.
Is it self-induced or is it just a control? We all grew up.
At a certain point, it's self-induced. At a certain point, it's self-induced. The point, I'm just obviously harping on what he's saying. We have to understand, having a hakara, having a recognition that you're in spiritual darkness, and which then leads you to start the blame game, means you're darker than your own
Image of what darkness
delusional enlightenment that you think you're in. You see, if your first approach to recognizing you're in spiritual darkness is to say, I know, look what they've been feeding them. You boy, Gevalta, you dark. Gevalta, you dark. You know what the Baal Shem Tov is basically, it's another word the Baal Shem Tov tells the person that wakes up has a moment of illumination of his heart. He has one word. He says, achrayus. Responsibility. That's great. It's amazing that you could point out, like we always give the famous mashal of a guy that's looking for a shidduch and he goes out on all these dates just in order to say she has that problem with her and she's not good, her nose is that, no money there, she's crazy, she's frum, she's not, all these things. So mazel tov. So what ends up happening? So you end up being at home, alone. But if the avodah is, wait a second, what am I searching for? And looking for what I'm searching for, instead of what am I searching to disqualify, and puzzle, you're going nowhere. You're going nowhere. That illusion is so thick. It's mamish, mamish thick. And I want you to know, I hope you realize I'm mamish talking to myself every word that I'm saying here right now. Very much. And I'm davening over this as we're learning this. And it's a deep, deep avodah to do. The etgar of the door is not just to recognize darkness in other people. It's to see how fast am I, ki'ilu, so easy to say, mamish, it's so dark there. Bnei Brak, Yerushalayim, Efrat, Tel Aviv. That never did anything to anybody. You know, the famous thing of the Baal Shem Tov Hashem Tzilcha, if I see darkness somewhere, right? If I had nothing to do with me, I wouldn't be exposed to it. Simple Baal Shem Tov Torah. If I saw something off, and I had no shaykhs to it, God wants me to be a yenta. Like Hashem's inyan is like, I want you to be a yenta. Know what's going on by them. That's your inyan. That's why I created you. Those are the dreams I had about you when I thought of creating you. To be the most heilige yenta you could be. Come on. No. Kedei, like Rav Shlomo would basically see. Rav Shlomo said it in one line. If you walk down the street and you see someone that's mamish ugly, gewalt, are you ugly? That's how he said it. Mm-hmm. That's how he said it. That's his line. Mamish his line. Kedei, so we're here to say we want to transform the darkness into light. כדי להפוך את החושך לאור, עלינו להיות מודעים להימצאות השם בכל מצב. In order to do this avodah of transforming the darkness into light, we must be muda'im. What's muda'ut? Awareness. We have to have awareness and consciousness of the fact that Hashem Yisbarach is in every single situation. ולחפוץ לעבוד אותו מתוך המצב הזה באמת ובאהבה, and to actually have a desire to serve Hashem from within that mitzius, from within that reality, from within the situation that I see in front of me. Az mitgale eleinu oro shel Hashem. Then it's Hashem's light that becomes to be revealed to us. Nochechuto hatmidit v'ashkachato al kol tzad v'shal b'chayenu. You know what you start noticing when that happens? Hashgacha pratis in every single detail, in every single person, in every single scenario. There's no such thing as a place that's called void of Elokus. It's godliness everywhere. When you approach it with this type of vision.
It's interesting because he's making a very important diuk in my eyes. He says to do it from a place of emet and ahava. The easiest thing to do is to go to a place of yira, of a fear or just awe, or trembling. He's saying that's not the place you should do this from.
נכון, יפה מאוד. Very good. מתוך מודעות כזאת, from this type of awareness, from this type of consciousness, אנו מגלים בעצמנו משאבים חדשים. You know what we find? New resources, which is what we need. New resources, the development of new resources, the places from which I'm getting my koach, right? Has to be new places that didn't exist before. המאפשרים לנו לעסוק בעבודת הקודש של הגשמת רצון השם בבריאתו, לעשות לו יתברך דירה בתחתונים, להפוך את העולם למקום הראוי להתגלות אור השם. What he basically was saying here is Perek Daled in the Tanya. Basically what he just said over here, but he's saying it in his own lashon, of course. He's saying this type of consciousness provides for us new resources we didn't know existed. Let's face it, okay? The spiritual resources we have today within the Am that are already existing and that are revealed are shayach to a previous generation. It did its job for 75 years. Or Chadash, Olam Chadash, Am Chadash. It has to be no. Something's got to give. But if I'm still in my mind thinking, no, I just didn't make use enough yet of all the resources that I have until now, you're mamish at the tochen maim. How do you say that? You're what's that?
Grinding.
You're grinding water. The tochen maim. You're not. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
Well, I also think it's important to note that it's talking about on a national level. I mean, the Tanya is talking about our own avodah pnimiyut to bring Hashem into our lives. You're saying you have to actually make Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael, into a place. מאיפה
זה מתחיל? Where does it start? Bediuk. You see?
But to keep that in the
100%. No, it's very good what you're saying, but Rav Ginsburg is saying to us, I know everyone has this, like the first two prakim, you thought he was going to give out a whole map, a whole political outline of like, listen, the guns are there, their enemies there, change a few slogans, and boom, you're good to go, right? Now, obviously, because that's the drisha, that's obviously something very strong that we want from within. I mean, that's also like the immediate, that's not the neshama's calling, it's the body's calling, nachon. However, what Rav Ginsburg is going to show us through this sefer is that if I start operating from a place of neshama, with the context, constant reminder that this is lemana klal, he's not making any promises, but yesh li sikui lihinatzel ani yodea, like Eviatar Banai sings. I have a chance. I have a sikui. But I got to operate with developing a new consciousness, a new state of awareness. I have to relate to pain differently. Now listen, 75 years, how did we relate to pain? We've spoken about this so many times. Suppressing it. Suppression. Why? There was a reason for it.
No, the luxury.
Survival. Luxury. Hope. There's no other way. Had I gotten swept up in it without any hadracha, without any guidance in terms of how this operates within my neshama, what is this doing for me? Nachon. It would have been the end, right? That whole military mindset that even in like the Tznuot Noar here even the Tznuot Noar have a military mindset. I used to go to Bnei Akiva when I was younger, and I used to have to do a modom. I'm like, I'm 9 years old, Kita Dalid. I come from Heligas Mele, right? I'm coming from Los Angeles. And funnily, hey, let's go have fun Shabbos afternoon. I go to Bnei Akiva, and then I have these kids that are only 2 years older than me screaming at me if I'm not standing. Amod Dom, Amod Noach, which are all the military. That's you see this when you go to funerals today, when the soldiers that are bearing their comrade, like it's even in there because it had to be, because there was survival mode. Of course, we're still, in a very deep sense, in a survival mode. However, at a certain point, if it's just survival mode, the thing's going to crumble. If it's not neshama mode, it can't last like this. It's got to be neshama mode, even in, and especially in, children. Has to be. What it also needs to do is that many people that have been growing up Orthodox their whole life and religious have to be willing to say, maybe,
I've been doing it wrong.
Maybe I just haven't been doing it right yet. I'm changing the lashon. Echanta, you prepared
No,
me
but
for
it's a big difference, because if it's not right yet, it doesn't mean that you've been doing it wrong. You're doing it right for where you were.
For where you were, exactly, and that's an important thing. Like, again, it's easy to listen to these shiurim and be like, wow, this is the Zionist dissing shiurim. It's not. I have no inyan for that. It's about achshav, now, only about now, because there's no one that's representing Am Yisrael that's talking to any of our souls right now. You realize that? There's no one. En af echad. There's no one that's sitting anywhere on top that when he's speaking, some of us would be like, oh man, okay, at least, at least he gets me. No one. So I have to become a Rebbe. I have to become a Chassid and a Rebbe together. I have to do the whole thing. A Nasi and a Chassid. Very good. I have to have this shtickle Nasias in me and a Groisa Chassidus in me and a lot inside of me. Listen, I'm gonna, yeah.
So I'm going to get chizik to this, because Ezra Taub, who was a survivor from the Holocaust and the town of Weissman, he had a gilui that he got from Balat Tshuva, from being a Manam in Balat Tshuva in Osamer, in America, and he said that the gilui was that in the end of days, we're all going to have to become a Rebbe. We're all going to have to be like Amravim. It's all the Yochid B'dor. We all have to do that avoda. And he would go around saying it, and he said, we had a Gilui Eliyahu. He was like a Hungarian, rabbi. Like,
Right.
How could he talk this way? And he wrote books about it. And
I see it, I feel it. Just yesterday, there's a couple in my office, and the outcome to me was very clear midway through. It's like, I said to the Rebbitzin, like, her Ritzonos are so profound. I said, Okay, listen, the way it's going to work here is if you become a Rebbe. It's not going to, it won't work any other way. Like what you want to happen, it just won't work any other way. But a Rebbe, this is important. Because right, whenever we think Rebbe, that means someone that has people under him. No. The Gemara in Erchin says, who's a melech? Who's considered a melech? Misha melech al atzmai tchila. A king can only be someone who's first a king over themselves. So when we say Rebbe, say leader, I just want to make it clear. It means that the concepts we're going to be learning first become crystal clear to me. That I actually have a personal and intimate relationship with the 5 facets of my soul. Now for most of us, that's not a language that anyone taught us. Yeah, you go into the Sfarim a little bit, you start seeing letters, Nun, Reish, Nun, and then you see Nun and Yud, and you're like, I'll skip over that, I'll get to that at a different point. But we all know the five departments of the soul, and being in touch with them is the platform upon which Rav Ginsburg will say to us, listen, you want to bring here Malchus? You want this place to look like a Kavod Shem Shamayim? You want it to be the dream of all dreams? You want to take that dream called 2,000 years of exile and come here? It's got to be that you understand how you relate to it and how you're poel mitoch your neshama, from your soul. Tangent moment, as if we haven't had tangents yet today, but listen. I'm sorry if I'm making anyone feel a bit uncomfortable, but I actually don't care. This is we're all uncomfortable, so this is it. You all know that if you, you're not Polish, you're already saying I'm sorry.
I said sorry, not sorry.
Oh, sorry, not, of course, Afghan. So listen, a few days ago, as many of you know, we went down to the south on another trip. It was a big trip. It was the biggest one we did, and it was a lot. And we had 4 or 5 different stops, I don't remember exactly. The first stop was at approximately 11:45. The second stop was approximately 1. The third stop was approximately 2:30. Masha Kazeh. And then the last one was about 4:45. Okay? Do you know what and we're in the places of hell. We're on grounds where Jews took their last breath, where our sisters were raped. Do you know what the most common question I got asked throughout the day was?
What time will you be back?
Worse.
I don't even want. When are we singing? When are we dancing? No.
When are we davening mincha?
When are we davening mincha?
Why is that so bad?
Here we go. He's asking the obvious question that many of you are just too embarrassed to ask, but that's exactly the nakuda. First of all, you're on a trip with a rabbi. You think there's not going to be mincha? Like that's aleph. It's like is the food kosher? Like it's like beyond me. You're walking through Shari Gehenom. You're walking through Shari Gehenom. And the question is, when are we davening mincha? I could go on now for 3 hours. I promise you I could. I'm just gonna speak about it in a way that doesn't leave you so like mitpaleh.
Oh, I'm like, dafka, daven mincha.
I wish that's where it was coming from. If it was coming from that, it'd be a different story. If the questions was, when are we gonna say Atachoin el Adam Das? When are we gonna say V'chol Oivecha Mehira Yikaresu? Then Mela.
It's coming from the vessel.
When are we going to be outside?
Sorry?
It's coming from the vessel, not from the light.
It's coming from the vessel, not from the light. It's coming from the vessel, not from the light. We're so still stuck in this concept called being Yotzei Yedei Chovas Aguf, that our neshamas and the blood of our brothers and sisters are screaming, don't you want to be Yotzei Yedei Chovas HaNeshama? What does it mean to be Yotzei Yedei Chovas HaNeshama? It means allowing yourself to actually feel. Allowing yourself to feel. we could continue to learn. You know, Rav Ginsburg is so methodological, it's like unbelievable, you know. It's all partsufim, it's all maps, and you'll start seeing all these things that the brain will start to, you know, recognize and start, you'll see a lot of these concepts. Brings me back to my algebra with my daughter last night. Once you get the certain words in, and all these like key phrases, it does start to add up, right? It starts to add up, but the army also has, you know, a lot of phrases. It starts to add up. It adds up and it makes sense. The cheshbonos start making sense. Lahavdil. Let's let in 18,000 Yishmaelim to come in every day to work by Yidden while they're preparing the pogrom. A lot of things add up. We don't care about things adding up. We care about finally functioning from trust the vessel. Trust the fact there'll be a mincha. You get it? Trust that the food is kosher. Trust there'll be food. Trust that all the things that you already have working for you will still be there. Don't worry. But maybe be open to the inyan that what we're experiencing right now, as you know, was never been before. And that the Churban is darker than you even understand. And allow yourself to taste the possible or mitoch achoshech. And this is what I wanted to say. Transforming darkness into light, there's a prerequisite. You know what that is? You have to understand the darkness. And of course you have to understand what light is. Light, not so worried about. Hashem, the Baal Shem Tov set it up for us. Light is not the problem. It's understanding what the kelim for today's light is supposed to look like. It is all oros b'tov, kelim b'tikun. We don't understand. We still have not yet gotten to a place that we can trust that the kli is set up. It's there. We have the ability to be frum for the rest of our lives and feel good on the checklist Yiddishkeit. It'll last l'netzach netzachim. There's no such thing as checklist neshama. That's the problem. But at least you have to start to get in touch with your neshama and the 5 different departments of the neshama. So from here on, what Rav Ginsburg is starting to do to us, and Jeremy, what's very cool, as I'm sure you've seen ahead already, is that when he starts to explain what nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida are, the 5 departments of the soul, he does that and always says, okay, this is what it is, and now this is what it looks like when you're in touch with that part of your soul, how you transform darkness into light that you see in front of you in the moment. And it's a beautiful map. It's a beautiful, beautiful like journey that he takes us on that doesn't leave anyone with a heter, with a ptar, with an exemption of saying, nah, it's not, whatever, I'm not a Kabbalist. It's not about being a Kabbalist. It's just about getting in touch with yourself, about allowing yourself to feel. But if we keep on going to these places, and I'm telling you, that question was asked more than any other question. No one came up to me and said to me, Rav Shlomo, how could I talk to Hashem right now after this? No one said that. Mincha. It's making such a mockery out of Yitzchak Avinu. The Baal Mincha.
Is it about Hashem? Like Hashem didn't do this. Is it about Hashem and how you talk to Hashem?
I don't understand.
Is that like, are you suggesting the response of how could we talk to Hashem? It's not like Hashem didn't send them.
I can't relate to someone that's walking on the Nova grounds that is asking about Mincha, is not talking to me about how could I ever talk to Hashem again. I just don't have any dibur with that. I can't connect. I can't connect. It's like Chinese to me. Bring me a brother that doesn't even know what Mincha is, right? And that can cry with me in that place. That's my chevrusa. I can't connect to that. I can't, I'm not there. I'm just not there. Now, maybe there's a party that's saying, is he saying we should forget about Mincha? Is he starting a whole, it's like, Hashem Yerachim. Hashem, are you starting a new movement? Are you starting something new? Hashem Yerachim, it's not something new, it's something very, very old. It's something that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were aligned with. It's something that all the tzaddikim lived through, lived with, breathed with. And if we want to have a chance of showing a whole new generation that there is a possibility to transform all the spiritual darkness into light that's in this country, we must understand what it means to recognize darkness. And recognizing darkness hurts, but it's so worthwhile. But gewalt does it hurt. Beyond painful. Beyond painful. But beyond worthwhile, because if that's the only way I could transform darkness into light, and what I really want to do here is to lafoch et kol haolam, like the Rebbe said, to flip over and change over the whole world. I can't continue. Let the army, first of all, be blessed with a whole v'na'afochu on the top command.
Amen.
As we all heard when we were in Kfar Aza, that the heads of the army already told the heads of the kibbutzim, just expect the rockets to continue even after we finish our job. That's what he told us. That's choshech, shebechoshech, shebechoshech. I have no shlita on that. You and I have we don't have any control over that. What we have a control of, it starts with ourself, opening up our hearts to what is really going on, and then start creating the buzz, the critical mass of saying, we know that nothing can be like it was. We have emunas tzaddikim. We have an opportunity together to ask each other, how do you talk to God right now? I don't feel like talking to God right now, and not from. Do you understand? Mashu chadash. Mashavim, yeah, very good. New resources. It's all about new resources. Listen, Yitzchak Avinu, from all the others, was the only one, I was speaking about this someone yesterday, Yitzchak Avinu was the only one of the others that never left Eretz Yisrael. He's born in Eretz Yisrael, never left Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was the exact opposite. Moshe Rabbeinu was born in Galus, never comes into Eretz Yisrael. Yitzchak Avinu is the one right now, what was his avodah in the world? Did he dig wells? Did Yitzchak Avinu dig wells?
He opened them up.
He redug wells. The Rebbe once said, the avodah of today is not digging new wells. It's redigging wells. Why? Sitmum plishtim. It's amazing. Why did he have to redig wells? Because plishtim, sitmum, they clogged it. This made-up word that I don't allow to say in the shul, and I'm actually very thankful that most of you have been listening to that psak. The word P-A-L-E-S-T-I-N, it's not a word what we say. It's a word that Jewish blood became cheap through, so we don't say that word here. But it's the same concept of that they clogged wells of Mesirus Nefesh, of Yidden that came here with a very pure dream of having home for Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. They clogged it. Oh boy, did they clog it. The Pshizcha says Sitmum comes from the Lashon Stam. They took all the be'eras, they took all the wells we dug in our neshamas for years, and they said, it's Stam, it's not worth anything. Sitmum plishtim. And now our avodah is to reopen wells. So you want to reopen all over it has to start from here. We have to get in tune with what it means to be poyel from nefesh ruach neshama chaya and yechida, which we're going to start Be'ezer Hashem to learn inside from Monday to see how that actually pans out. But as long as as long as I realize one thing, I want it to be clear what I told you before about mincha. Let's mature for a second. If anyone heard from what I said that I was angry that we daven mincha, you completely missed the point.
Heard that.
I hope so. It's very easy today. In today's day and age, I could say good morning and the person could AI it and say, why did you curse me out? It's very easy today. It's very easy today. I want you to understand what that point of that story was. When we're traveling the gates on Mavis, when we're standing on the grounds of the Nova Festival, don't ask me when we're davening mincha. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to anybody. Go to the forest. Go run to the trees and start crying. But we're on our way. We have to go that direction. We're on our way. Adayin lo means we're on our way. נכון? אפשר להגיד. Okay? Okay. יאללה. עד הניצחון ומעלה.
The what? The how on the cover of the sefer.
Yeah, I'll do cover. No. Oh, the banana.
Based on Midrash. Like I see Ari has on his match.
I love it how we yesterday were,
I need to get myself in the share. I don't have to share.
and we saw the news break. We didn't hear until like an hour later. Oh my God. It was really,
I can't imagine.